Okay, the Italian campaign. Remember, here's where Italy is. In February of 1945, as his world collapsed around him, Adolf Hitler complained, "It is quite obvious that our Italian alliance has been of more service to our enemies than to ourselves." Most Italians hadn't wanted their country to be involved in the war in the first place. As defeat loomed, the Italian government rose up against their leader Mussolini and made peace with the Allies. The Allied victory in North Africa in the spring of 1943 offered the Allies the chance to invade Italy from the south. On July 10, British, Canadian, and American troops landed in Sicily. Within 5 weeks, the island was theirs, and preparations were made to invade Italy itself. For the Italian government, the writing was on the wall. Mussolini was deposed and imprisoned, and secret surrender negotiations began with the Allies. This was a tricky business, as Italy was full of German troops. A surrender agreement was signed on September 3, 1943, the same day British troops crossed the Strait of Messina to the Italian mainland. 6 days later, the U.S. Army landed further north at Salerno. For Germany, the Italian surrender made little difference. German soldiers simply disarmed the Italians and changed from being allies to behaving like an occupying force. Where possible, Italian soldiers changed sides. Within a few months, 350,000 of them were fighting with the Allies rather than against them. Italy is a narrow, mountainous country with many rivers crossing its interior. This made it easy to defend and difficult to attack. After early Allied success in the south, the Germans established a solid defense line about 60 miles south of Rome. So Allied commanders decided to launch attacks along the coast instead. But the landing craft needed for such assaults was in short supply. The campaign to drive Japan from its Pacific empire was in full swing, and equipment in England was being stockpiled for the coming invasion of France. Allied soldiers landed at Anzio on January 22, 1944, but were hemmed in by strong German forces. However, a few months later, 2 decisive victories finally enabled them to break through the German defensive ring and push further north. A group of mainly Polish forces overran a German strongpoint in the ancient hilltop monastery of Monte Cassino, destroying the 1,500-year-old historic site in the process. Within 3 weeks, the undefended Italian capital of Rome was in Allied hands. On June 6, the Allies landed at Normandy in France, and the war in Italy became something of a sideshow. But by the end of the war, Allied forces in Italy had reached the River Po, and only the far north of the country remained in German hands. Hitler had many appalling traits, but he could be very loyal to his friends. This included the imprisoned Mussolini, who he had rescued by German commandos. The Italian dictator, now a shadow of his former self, set up a new government in German-occupied Italy. It was called the Salo Republic, or Salo, after the small northern town he made his headquarters. But Mussolini was now just a puppet, completely under Nazi control. In April 1944, he and his mistress, Clara Petacci, that's like not a wife, like a girlfriend that's like not a wife, were captured and swiftly executed by Italian partisans. Their bodies were hung in a city square in Milan to be spat at and shot at by vengeful Italians. Oh my goodness.